Good morning, sixth graders. I hope everybody is doing well today. Thank you for watching the video like you are supposed to. That's awesome. Let's go ahead and get started. Today's book talk is called Counting by Sevens by Holly Goldberg Sloan. I think I mentioned this in another book talk because it was similar to another book. It's really, really good. I have not read it for a long time, but I still remember like how much I loved it. It's about a girl. Her name is Willow, and she goes through a tragedy, which is kind of a spoiler, so I'm not going to say what it is. And she's kind of a unique girl. She's super smart, but has a lot of trouble making friends and things like that. But after her tragedy, she's forced to meet new people and get out there into the world and things like that. And it's just about her experiences in doing that. So this book reminds me a little bit of Fish in a Tree, which I don't think I've book talked, but I'm going to later this year, as well as Out of My Mind, Wonder a little bit. And again, like many of those books, is just written so well. And while there's lots of sad parts, there's lots of really funny parts too. So I loved this book. If you are interested in reading it, please send me an email and I will put it in the office for you. Okay. So looking at our planner today, we're on Thursday. We are going to start writing our personal narratives today. So that's what's going on. You're going to have today and tomorrow to do that. Today, I'm just going to let you get started. Tomorrow, I'm going to put you into breakout rooms so that I can come see what you have so far. So it's really important that you have done your pre-writing things, your plot diagram, your planning sheet, and that you have a strong idea. Okay. And then as far as anything else goes, don't worry too much right now about like having the perfect beginning or anything like that. Next week, we're going to work a lot on revising and editing, and I'm going to teach you some tricks. So for today, I just want you to get your story down as best as you can. Okay. And sometimes just starting is the hardest thing. So just get started, get something down on your paper, and that way we can have something to work with. So we're doing the personal narrative. I didn't have that up. So the rough draft. Now that you've completed your planning and pre-writing, it's time to begin your rough draft. I will be checking in with you these next couple of days in breakout rooms. I just said that to monitor your progress. Now get writing, okay? So if you want to push pause and start writing right now, you can, or you can, social studies is going to be kind of quick today. So you can do that and then go back to writing however you want. Like I said, I'm not going to check in with breakout rooms today. I want to give you some time just to get something down. I will say though, in Otis, you have your rough, it says rough draft, final draft. We're just going to use the same piece of virtual paper to work on it. So you're just going to write on that. Do not turn it in. Okay. You guys are going to work on it and keep working on it. You're not going to turn it in until next week when the final draft is finished and you are super proud of what you've done. You've done your absolute best and you're ready to turn it in. So you'll work on it in Otis, but you will not be turning it in until it is the final draft's completely done. And truthfully, please do not turn it in until I ask you to. Some people are like, oh, I'm done. It's good. Da, 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 da. But I want to be able to work with you on revising and editing next week. So please do not turn it in. All right. So start writing the rough draft in Otis. Moving on to social studies, we are going to continue to learn about Mesopotamia and the Sumerians. Today is really interesting. The Sumerians contributed so much to human civilization, and we still use so many of their inventions and things they came up with today. So it's pretty interesting. Okay. So Sumerian contributions, as you can see in the left-hand corner, it's pages 44 through 46 in your textbook. You guys should be reading those and annotating them. I kind of suggest watching the slideshow first, like you're doing right now, so that you have an idea of you have an idea of what's going on before you dive into the textbook. All right. So Sumerian contributions. Our guiding question today is, what ideas and inventions did Sumerians pass on to other civilizations? Okay, so what did they come up with that we still use today? So the cuneiform is the world's first system of writing, and it was developed in Sumer. So this is and I always say this wrong, a cuneiform. And that they didn't have paper back then, so they wrote on this clay, okay? But it is the first system of writing and recording information. So the ability of cuneiform to express ideas was an inspiration for the development of other languages. It demonstrated how written languages could aid in the administration of an empire. Other cultures had begun to use pictograms, but cuneiform was the first written language to go beyond that. Mesopotamia had developed sophisticated commerce, and merchants needed to keep records. And commerce is like the buying and trading of goods. Okay, and so merchants would need to keep records like, oh, this guy owes me 50, whatever currency they used. Okay, so other cultures had begun to use pictograms. That's where they would use a picture that would represent a certain animal or idea or whatever. But the cuneiforms were actually like symbols that stood for a word. Okay, and there was like 1,200 of them because each one didn't stand for a letter, and you put the letters together, each one stood for a word. Okay, and then a scribe is a writer. Yesterday in one of the videos we watched, there was a girl that came from a wealthy family that wanted to grow up to be a scribe. So scribes were the record keepers, the writers, the ones that put the information into the cuneiform. Okay, and then the Epic of Gilgamesh, that was like one of the first stories ever written, and it was written by the Sumerians. So we're going to watch a little video on that now. Okay, it's a little bit long.
Battles with a demon, prayers with a goddess, and a super dope road trip. We've got it all on this episode of Gilgamesh and Friends. When we last left off, basically everyone was telling Gilgamesh that going to fight Humbaba was a really bad idea. But Gilgamesh was all like, but I really want to kill him though, dudes. Because, seeing how Humbaba was still very much alive, it meant that nobody had killed him yet, which in turn meant Gilgamesh could do something no one else had ever done. Of course, by that logic, he could have just literally killed anybody else that was still alive, or really just probably brushed his teeth. But who am I to gainsay heroes? So, Gilgamesh went off to get some sweet buffs before killing the giant guardian of the Forest of the Gods. And what might be the best buff of them all, you might ask? A blessing from the gods. So he dragged his new friend and wrestling buddy, Enkidu, to meet his mom. And Gilgamesh's mom, the goddess queen Ninsun, was all like, "Aw, you look nice today, honey. Who's your little friend?" So Gilgamesh introduced Enkidu and said, "Ugh, Mom, can you just, intercede with the gods for us?" Okay, honey, she said, and proceeded to take 7 baths of tamarisk and soapwort. Because A, baths are super relaxing, and B, gods just seem to like you better if you bathe for some reason. So, that's just 2 birds with 1 stone right there. Afterward, she got on her best gown, went up to the roof, grabbed a censer, and said, "Shamash, why did you have to make my son so proud?" And after guilt-tripping the great god Shamash for a while, basically extorted a blessing to help Gilgamesh out. But the way it was phrased, though, it sort of sounded like the blessing was for her family. So being very clever, she was like, "Wild boy Enkidu, come here. I'm just going to adopt you real quick." And boom, Gilgamesh and Enkidu were brothers. So the brothers Mesh went off to do some monster slaying. It was a long way to the Forest of the Cedars, but being heroes of legend, they walked 150 miles a day, closing the distance in little time. Then, on the 3rd day, when they rested, Enkidu made a house of the dream god, air quotes, which we'll assume for the wholesome nature of this show is entirely substance-free. Okay? Alright. Once completed, Gilgamesh went inside, crashed hard, and proceeded to have prophetic dreams. The next morning, he woke screaming, oh god, a mountain fell on us, bro." But Enkidu was all like, whoa, don't worry, man. It's a good omen. The mountain was totally Humbaba, and you were capturing him from underneath, not being crushed by him at all, dude. And Gilgamesh, never the sharpest cookie in the box, was like, oh, cool, and took Enkidu's explanation at face value. 3 days later, though, he went back into the house of the dream god again, and he awoke once more crying. Dude, this time I was wrestling a bull, right? But it kicked up like so much dust that the world turned black and it forced me to my knees. But then like a handsome bro came up to me and gave me a nice drink, so I don't know what to think, bro. Ever the pragmatist, Enkidu replied, oh, rad, dude! Good omen! The bull was totally our protector Shamash, and the dude was totally your dad! Gilgamesh once again calm, they walked on. And 3 days after that, it was of course back into Mr. Magic's happy hut for Gilgamesh. This time, he woke up trembling. The heavens screamed. The earth
YouTube. Looking at 2020 is just chaos.
shook. Lightning rent the sky, and fire burned the ground, dude! And when the fire flared, it rained death, and all that was left in the world was cinders, bro! And Enkidu, positive as always, replied, sweet! Totes good omen, bruh! Because that dream was the most metal one yet! And once again, they went on their way. Now, this dream diary stuff happens twice more on sections of tablet that have largely become a fine powder by this point. But it's safe to assume that Gilgamesh had 2 more dreams of ever-escalating terror, which Enkidu let him know were totally about his success. Good wingman there. Finally, they near the Forest of Cedars. Gilgamesh cries out to Shamash for aid, and Shamash tells him that he'd better go right now and smash Humbaba, because while the giant usually wears 7 layers of armor, he's only sporting 1 right now. He must have just woken up. So these 2 heroes, being mighty men of manly mind, spring right into action. But even as they leap to fight the giant, fear grips Enkidu. How can they win against such a powerful beast? But Gilgamesh tells him that they'll win with the power of teamwork, because that's how a team works. And so they rush off again and finally encounter Humbaba, who opens up with some really serious smack talk about how Enkidu doesn't even know who his mom is, and therefore is only worthy to talk to turtles, who, in this universe, apparently don't know who their mother is either. Sure, okay, but then once the tough turtle talk is done, it's time for weird face contortions. That's right, not a fight yet, says it on the tablet. Humbaba makes his ropey, wormy face even more hideous, and Gilgamesh is like, Nope, that's it, I'm out, dude, peace, and books it for the hills. But Enkidu stops him and reminds him of the power of teamwork and how that's how a team works, and also about the really sweet weapons they'd forged. Confidence returned again, they go back to fight the giant. As the fight finally begins, Shamash, true to his word, gets in on the action and summons the 13 winds to buffet the giant and keep him from moving. Then, the heroes of legend kick around the much less mobile Humbaba for a bit until he admits defeat and offers to serve Gilgamesh. Now, Gilgamesh is about to take him up on this offer when we get a bunch of tablet fragments that just have Enkidu saying, grind up, kill, pulverize, over and over again. Or in some translations, I kid you not, he says, finish him. So while we don't know exactly what happens, it appears that that persuasive argument won the day, and Gilgamesh promptly lopped off Humbaba's head to take back as a trophy. Then they spent a lot of time chopping down a cedar from the Forest of the Gods and talking about what a really sweet door they were going to make. And with the thrilling home renovation portion of the tale over, thus ends the story of Gilgamesh's quest for Humbaba. 1 ogre dead, 1 set of door materials obtained, and the power of teamwork once again proving to be the strongest power of them all. Aw, that's right, furry bro. Friendship's the best.
So that was cute. That was the Epic of Gilgamesh. Like I said, it was the first written story or legend ever told or ever written in written form. Alrighty, some of the other Sumerian contributions is the wheel. So that is kind of a big deal. The wheel, the plow, and I don't know what this word is right here. I'm sorry. I read about all of this, but I did not make this slideshow. So I'm not sure what that is. I will look it up and let you guys know tomorrow. They also, and we've mentioned this, seen this in other videos, the 12-month calendar is based on the moon's phases and the 360-degree circle. These are all things that they came up with. They came up with something else super interesting in the book, and now I can't think about what it was. I don't remember. But anyway, so the Sumerians contributed a ton to civilization. The Mesopotamia, which is part of, or Sumeria is part of Mesopotamia, is known as the cradle of civilization because it is the first real civilization that laid the groundwork for future civilization. So everything that we are today really began in Mesopotamia. So that's kind of cool. Tomorrow we are going to start working on a new project. We're going to be doing a Mesopotamia brochure. It's a fun project, and it's just meant to help you get more knowledge of Mesopotamia, but it's also meant to be fun. So look forward to that. We'll start working on that tomorrow. Continue to work on your story. Have a beautiful day. Happy little Friday. I will see you tomorrow.